Alright guys, gonna do another reaction video to some more Diablo 4 content. This one talking a little bit more about the Paragon Board updates and some of the glyph knowledge. Actually super exciting for me. As always, the original YouTuber's video is linked in the description below. I've subscribed to this person. Please take a moment to do the same if you find their content good, because I think it is quite good. So we're going to listen to Veldshot's summary of the Paragon Board changes here.
So I've seen a lot of people meme on Diablo 4's Paragon Board system, or in general the Paragon system, and I think this is a complete representation of lack of knowledge, because I've seen so many people say +5 intelligence, lol, +5 dexterity, lol. When in reality, when you look at Paragon boards in Diablo 4, not only is the way you unlock them unique in terms of...
I gotta say, I'm definitely in that camp. I was super unimpressed with the first reveal of those, in part because of those stupid passives. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? +5 of a stat? Who cares?
The gate linking, but also the different tiles, legendary, rare, magic, as well as the glyph system and how they sort of balance it out to where running to the next Paragon board might not be the best option available. This is super exciting, and I want to dive a little bit deeper in this video. I've gone over the Paragon board previously, but we did get a couple new...
Yeah, it's going to have to be something like this, right? So it's nice to hear this, but it's nice to also hear that the system is that deep, or rather well thought out enough they could do that, because it did initially sound super trash to me. But hearing that there's different boards, that there's going to be different incentives to do different boards, and that the density that you apply in any given board is going to be partially a result of things you want, partially a result of things that you have to give up to get to the next board, and partially a byproduct of how you've rotated the boards and what you need. That's kind of interesting. That starts to add some depth that I'm getting excited about again.
Images from the developer live stream, so let's talk about it. So first off, I want to talk about the basics of the Paragon board system, so we kind of have a base understanding of what we're talking about here. If you guys are
good recap,
interested in a more in-depth look, I have a full video on the Paragon board system, which is why I have been pretty conscious about all these pretty false memes going around. So first off here, you can see, you'll notice little circles here. Those indicate nodes, or rather tiles is what they refer to them, with upgraded tiles typically in the center pertaining to legendary quality. Then you also have rare quality, usually 4.
So you're going to pick a board essentially for that legendary bonus, probably. Although I suppose that the secondaries, I forget what they're called, the yellows here, the rare bonuses might be good enough to do that. Or possibly, I guess you might even pick a board because the socket applies to so many stats you care about that the buffs are big enough that you might want to do it. That's starting to be good incentives for that. Actually, really good incentives for competitive boards, I mean. So incentives to do some from this board, some from that board, and actually spread it out. That's what we want to see, right? We don't want to see super simple designs, and we don't want to see one-dimensional designs you always want kind of deal.
To 6 on a board, and then you're going to have magic quality interspersed throughout these nodes. You also see sort of the red circles, which kind of indicate a socket for glyphs. And when you put a glyph,
sockets
you're
are
going to
cool.
find that they boost up a lot of your different other nodes around it, or rather they get bonuses based on how many other nodes you have. And again, here's a couple more images. If you go through, okay, I'm going to go this way.
That red image is super cool to me. And my understanding is the sockets have auras. So that aura is described there as, you know, that looks like a 5 wide in the middle by 5 wide in the, 5 by 5 with diminishing there, but not all auras are the same, and different versions have better auras. You can get like a 7 wide aura socket kind of deal, and that's going to be impacting a much larger number of tiles. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Way you can pick up this rare node off to the side, legendary node in the middle. I'm going to come back around to pick up this socket. So
I wonder why the sockets are stationary. Sorry to pause again. I wonder why the sockets are stationary though. It feels like almost you should be able to apply a socket or two on these boards as opposed to there being an existing socket or two, because then you could place it around the things you really cared about, because there's still going to be filler stuff in this node if you look at this, right? Like that bottom right hand corner of the screen that's captured on the screen right now. Well, what am I doing there? Like, I have to just take those and there's nothing that modifies them, and they're kind of weak to the gray bonuses, which are commons. That seems kind of bad still, that port.
Glyph, right? This is kind of how it works, and you're going to have to kind of go in a specific direction. And what I mean by that, well, I mean, you can't just pick up a node randomly on the opposite side of the board. You kind of have to go in a row. For example here, though, when I'm talking about these tiles, this is what we have to...
I don't know if I've seen the exact bonuses on these. So rare is hugely impactful. I mean, that's a big bonus on the rares, and there's going to be, I think, 6 rares per board. And then there's that's not even the legendary, which is the reason why you pick a board in the first place. And that's a huge modifier too. That's kind of cool
to expect. Obviously, the common tiles are that +5 strength, +5 dexterity, which is what people were memeing on. However, that actually doesn't take much consideration because, well, the ones that you're really paying attention to are the magic, rare, and legendary, and even then, the actual common tiles can be upgraded massively by the glyphs later on. You might notice that the legendary tiles actually have very unique bonuses, kind of like a legendary.
I wonder if any of the glyphs overlap with any of the like rares or legendary bonuses. Like, are you ever going to see a glyph that like is just going to... I could just see the stacking potential of that being really crazy.
Item. Same with the rare ones. We also have the sockets and glyphs, and this is what I want to focus on. Here's a few examples of what we would consider the glyphs. There are 2 rarities, magic and rare. I don't think I've seen legendary glyphs yet. If anyone has, or screenshot, send me it down below or join the Discord and send me up. But you can see here, we get specific bonuses based on the radius around it. For example, extra willpower is going to give us extra overpower damage.
Radius size large. For every 10 willpower purchased within range, you deal 31.5% increased overpower damage. Grants 4 strength for each willpower purchased within range. That's awesome. I like that because that makes the useless purchases, not useless, but it makes the low impact, in this scenario, low impact willpower purchases. I mean, the bottom line of text on that grants 4 strength for each willpower purchase. If the willpower purchases are 5, like we saw earlier, then this is essentially doubling their value, but in a different stat, which is kind of interesting. And then additionally, and for every 10 willpower, you get another 30% damage on that. That means you're going to be able to really highlight skills if you get the correct glyphs for them, or really modify the way skills behave. The more skills that you can modify, and the more of these boards we have, and the more different arrangements we have, the more possible outcomes of skill builds that are going to work, which is what I want to see. So that's really cool.
Increased damage against vulnerable targets, etc., which is incredibly important for us to really think about when min-maxing our Paragon board. So I want to show this screenshot, or rather the image that they showed in the developer live stream just the other day, and that is the upgrade glyphs menu. At the bottom, you can see some of those rares, some of those magic glyphs.
All right, grayed out, and we're watching a video of a video of a video here. For every 5 intelligence purchased within range, you deal 3% increased poison damage. Receiving poisoning damage effects have 10% chance to deal double the amount of damage over their duration. Okay, and there's levels on that glyph. Can we see what level it is? It says 0 of 8 experience. Okay, I guess maybe I should listen to him explain, but I'm excited about the reveal.
You can see what they're actually doing and an upgrade bar. So not only are these, I guess you could say, portions of the Paragon board, but they're actually progression mechanics on top of the Paragon points that you're going to be receiving. But when you upgrade these, it seems that you're going to be having to dive into nightmare dungeons, scaling up and up and up to actually access some way to upgrade your glyphs, whether that's through, inputting duplicate glyphs or just salvaging glyphs for glyph XP. I'm not quite sure on that one, but it does seem that you're going to have to be diving into those nightmare dungeons to actually upgrade these. Now you'll notice that you can increase the radius, as it says, current level 1, next radius.
Only complaint I have about this immediately is respecking is going to be pretty, if it's a real big deal to go through and upgrade these things, trying out respecs is going to be difficult because you're going to have farmed these. So I wonder if this is account or character, and if they're used on application to the board or saved in your account. Do I have to farm this once or once each time I run this build? I am not so sure yet. So I don't want restrictions to easy testing of builds. But maybe this is all going to be like damage numbers as opposed to proof of concept. But I kind of feel like you need the damage numbers for proof of concept. So we'll see.
It's at level 15. But below that says for every 5 intelligence purchased within the range. And when it says purchased, it means like unlocked with the nodes. You're going to deal 3% increased poison damage. After that says poison damage effects have a 10% chance to deal double the amount of damage over their duration.
Or rather, really modifying of a skill.
In terms of dealing potential double damage for a small chance. But more importantly than not, we have that massive poison damage increase, okay? And not all glyphs are made equal. Not all glyphs are going to be really good. However, this one could potentially be really, really amazing, the one that they show here, because if we have some poison-based damage builds, we could be doing massively increased damage through that. And this is where the Paragon board gets interesting, because not only do we have the ability to unlock those legendary node or legendary tiles, the rare tiles that give us specific bonuses, but we also have those glyphs, which get upgraded based on how many points we want to put in the surrounding area. And in fact, this makes it so that, hey, do I want to keep unlocking Paragon boards, or do I want to go for a specific Paragon?
Yeah, I think he hits it here because it changes the grays from dump stats to something a bit more interesting, which is now this could actually be instrumental to the things you actually care about because they're modified beyond just being a gray stat. So the sockets are doing a huge conversion of what is a relatively boring board into a much more interesting thing. And then I like the nature that you don't have a defined number of Paragon boards, that you as a player are making that decision with your points where you want them to go, how many boards you're wanting to invest in. I think that's super cool.
Paragon board, and capitalize on the glyph that's in there, or the socket, which we put a glyph in there. This is what I think is super innovative about the Paragon system. Generally speaking, if you look at any sort of, Path of Exile or Diablo 3, I mean, Diablo 3 is way simpler than Path of Exile, or even, sort of Diablo 2, but Diablo 3 here, or Path of Exile, sort of has the most complicated Paragon system. In that case, it's sort of a skill tree where you're going through and you're picking up different nodes, you go different directions, etc. This one's a little bit interesting because instead of, picking a direction and going for a specific strategy, you may just want to go ahead and capitalize on one Paragon board rather than just moving your way through the progression system. I think
it's a long way away saying what I think I just said, but
Path of Exile's tree is extremely innovative itself, and I think Diablo 4 has kind of done a similar thing here, where they kind of want you to capitalize on potentially min-maxing this glyph or taking advantage of some of the rare.
I think it's an entirely different game than Diablo 3, right? I think Blizzard has said Path of Exile is the future of these types of games, and giving a simplified version of that or a more accessible version of that for Diablo 4 is going to be core to their gameplay and core to their audience capture, essentially. And I think I'm really excited to see that, because nothing is as exciting as a AAA title doing all the cool things that the indie games are doing. And I'm not saying this is there yet, but these are good steps for that way.
Air nodes and legendary nodes on top of the sockets and glyphs here, which I think is really, really cool. And I think that they absolutely mastered the Paragon board system, and it looks super exciting. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of people have the big misconception with the Diablo 4's Paragon board or Paragon system, and this post kind of highlights it, where at the top of the post it says glyphs are the most powerful build-defining upgrades in the game. And they said they didn't realize the weight behind Joseph's words during the live stream when he said glyphs are more powerful than legendaries, Paragon legendaries, and even uniques until now.
Yeah.
They are highlighting the same screenshot that I showed you earlier with the specific poison damage increasing glyph.
Good, we want that, because the legendaries were strong and transformative and kind of broken, and everyone was like, wow, this is dumb. But then again, we were limited to super low levels of mobs with none of the affixes, none of the bonuses, none of the actual difficulty scaling, over farming gear for that, and not access to our full tree. And this is going to be so much more interesting.
And you can see here, they talk about how the potential could be really insane. And it is absolutely true. The damage potential on some of these glyphs can be way better than even some legendaries there.
And that's one glyph, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, you get 220 points for this. I don't know what that actually means in terms of like how many points on average you move through a board. But imagine you get 4 or 5 of these nodes, right? Suddenly this damage modification, which is huge, right? In magnitude, this is a really large bonus compared to the bonuses you get off like skill level ups in that game, for example, right? You maybe get like 10, this is just like maybe like 5 times as much of a bonus as you're mostly seeing on the skill cards, right? From memory here. Well, what if you're doing this 5 times? Now you're going to have 5 nodes that are this bonusing to something. That's super cool.
They're core to your build, okay? But what's really interesting about this is how a lot of people don't realize this, and how a lot of people just don't necessarily see, oh, +5 intelligence, and don't really see, oh, what are the things that you can do with that? How does it interact with potentially building on other Paragon boards, or how does it interact with me grinding out a specific Paragon board for specific bonuses, okay? I think that's really interesting. Now, I will say, 99% of people, maybe 90% of people, are going to load up max roll on the second monitor, and they're going to go ahead and run in and just follow exactly what they do, right? And I'm sure that they're going to have min-max builds for the Paragon.
Yeah, but the thing about that statement, and I'm sure I didn't get the impression he was shitting on that as a statement. Like, good, if that's how you want to engage, that's great. But the important part is there's the room for the people who want to engage more deeply to do that. I think that's the really important part, and that's what Diablo 4 is offering that Diablo 3 really wasn't, I don't think. And this is what Diablo 4 is taking from like Path of Exile, right? Which is, there are lots of us, myself included here, and probably most of you guys watching my stuff, who wants to dig into the deeper strategy side of this, who wants to do the planning, to figure out the builds themselves, to put these the pieces together to do something cool and different. So it's exciting to see that there might be some chance to do that.
Paragon system. My hope with this is that there are going to be multiple
there wasn't in the early access beta, right?
Due to the Paragon system, because of how powerful the glyphs and sockets are, and it opens up more strategies. I think that's going to be really cool, and I hope that's kind of where we go. Yeah. Let me know what you all think about this. I wanted to comment on it because I've been a huge proponent for the Paragon board, and I think it's a really cool idea, and they've done a really well job on it. But some people don't seem to either understand it, or they're just memeing and hating on the game because they just don't want to play it. Either way, I figured I'd make a video because it's an interesting topic, and I'll see you all for the next one.
Yeah, pretty cool. As I said, go check out his video in the link below. Check out his channel. But I really agree with a big chunk of that. I was very disappointed with the initial reveal of the Paragon board, and my experience from the first 2 weekends of early access Diablo 4 were somewhat so-so. Like, it was fun to see the system. The game looked pretty good, although a little bit grayscale dark kind of deal. It moved and played pretty well. There were some UI issues that I wasn't super excited about, but I was most disappointed with the talents and builds, and seeing how much more complexity there still is to experience for that is really uplifting for me. That it gives me a bit of hope again that I'll find some replayability and interest in the game. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the reaction style videos in the comments below, and see you soon.